Hey guys, I'm Eyal Booker and this is the Yes, No, Maybe podcast.
Eyal, oh my gosh.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having such a busy day and making us a priority as well.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It means a lot. So we've been talking about you and obviously researching you and trying to figure out a little bit more because
The internet is a dark hole.
Yes, it is indeed.
Oh God, that will haunt me forever, the internet.
And we obviously know you from the infamous Firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
Where our conversations have been somewhat fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite nice to sit down and actually get to know you a little bit. You seem like a bit of a yes man to us. Is that accurate?
For sure. I think I'm definitely a yes man because why not? Why no? Unless it's something that is really against my morals and my values, then yes has always guided me and allowed me to do things that I've always wanted to do. And I think if we're getting deep already, everything we want is on the other side of fear. And so that no really comes from a place of fear, a place of how other people are going to perceive it or judge you. And I think from an early age, I was always encouraged to say yes to the things that I want to do. I can say no if it doesn't align with me or if it's something that I don't want to do.
Do you find it easier to say yes? I mean, from what I've read and what I know, you've got a very strong family support network. Mm-hmm. You work with your brother. Yes. Do you find it easier to say yes because you have that support? Do you think that's helped kind of guide you in that direction, or do you think it's solely come from you?
I think it's definitely come from my family as well. I think it was instilled in me from an early age, from my parents, always encouraged me to just go out there and get what I want to do. And then knowing that no matter what happens, my family and my closest friends know exactly who I am. They never pass judgment on the things that I do or want to do. And if everything got taken away today or tomorrow, I'd still have an amazing family and network of friends. And that is such a reassuring feeling to know that no matter what happens, if I fuck up or if I say yes and it's the worst decision I've ever made, then you know what? They know me for who I am. They knew that my intentions were pure. And what's the worst that can happen? I'll move across the world somewhere, I'll go live in Cape Town or,
represent.
or Asia somewhere, and I'll live on a beach and I'll be cool.
That's so interesting because, I mean, you've grown up on TV. I'm not grown up on TV, but you've, had a lot of your 20s
yes,
in front of the world.
Yeah.
And how do you navigate being who you really are versus the person that's in the public and I guess the outward persona that you're showing the world versus Eyal at home on the couch with his brothers, with his family, with his friends? How do you balance that?
I think I've always tried for it not to be too different. I'm not, especially within reality, I think if you try and play into a character that you're not, you get discovered very quickly. And I was never trying to be something that I wasn't. Although reality always shows a manipulated version of the truth, right? And it creates you into a character and it creates a narrative that you play into, but isn't necessarily the fully rounded whole part of who you are. And so I think I struggled with that at first when I first started doing TV, because it played into a type of person, this spiritual, very in touch with his emotions guy, but didn't necessarily show the fun, young, early 20s guy that just wanted to have a good time. And so it made me run away from that spiritual side of who I was, because I thought that that's all that people believed I was. So it was like, oh, well, if that's all you believe I am, I need to show you that I'm young and fun and can party and do all of this stuff. And I think as I've got older, it's just being more assured in myself and who that I am and who I am. And yeah, I think just learning as I go. There's been nobody to guide me or teach me. It's kind of just trial and error.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case with most of us. And people don't know me unless they know me. And I've had to make peace with that. And I made peace with that a long time ago, because anyone that we watch on TV or know from the public eye, we don't know. unless you've really spent real time with them. And I know the people that know me, and therefore they know my values, my morals, and all of that kind of stuff. And they know who I am. They know that I can be deep and spiritual, and that I can have a good time, and that and that's really it.
You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And I think that's a really exciting part of, you know, who you are and what you're up to now. You know, we were having a drink before this and we were going to say, let's get wavy. You know,
I love it. I love
Curled
it.
her hair because
Yeah.
we knew you were
Oh,
coming
stop.
on.
I would have bought you some products if I would have known.
What is it like to start a company? I mean, it's got to be one of the hardest things. I've seen it with people that I love, trying to launch a brand and a business and sell products. And it's got to be one of the hardest things ever to do. And bearing in mind, yes, you have the following and maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't. But what is it like to start a company and actually get it off the ground when you haven't done something like that before?
Never in my life. It's scary and exciting. And I have to say that if it wasn't for my brother, who's my partner in it, Ariel, then I don't think we would be at this stage. I am the chaos, and he is like the steady ship. And it works incredibly well because of that. And when I came up with the idea of Wavy, it was something that I wanted to do for a long time. I knew and I felt that men had been overlooked in the wavy and curly haired world for a very long time, just because I would always use products that didn't represent me, didn't align with who I felt like I was as a person, and just weren't targeted towards men. It was always, you know, bouncy, beachy, wavy curls that smelt of like strawberries
Yeah.
and coconut.
Yeah.
And I would have girls over and I would like
Surfer
clear my
vibes
shelf
and-
because I was so embarrassed that I was using whatever products. And after I did TV and built up a following and stuff like that, I would always get messages from guys being like, what do you do? How do you get your cars like that? Whatever. And it was really quite simple, but there just wasn't a brand or a product that I could direct people to that I was like, yeah, this is going to make you feel confident in yourself and cool, and you're not going to be embarrassed to show other people. And so I went to Ariel with the idea because I have always worked from project to project. I was a model, and then I got into TV, and that's just what I did. It was like, you're going to book me for this period of time or this job, and then I move on to the next thing. And I went to Ariel and I was like, look, I've got no fucking idea what I'm doing, but I found this lab in the UK and we are creating a curl cream, because that I could do. It was, you know, I knew what I wanted,
Yeah.
but I don't know what
had
to
the
do from
vision.
here. Exactly. And Ariel launched Cano Water almost 10 years ago now, which is a water company. So he's been an entrepreneur way longer than I've ever been, and he really understands the operational side of things. And he believed in Wavy and the idea because he also noticed it as he has wavy hair, and we set out on that journey together. And so for my chaos and running around the world and continuing to do TV and being the front man of the brand and the creativity and the network around it, Ariel is creative in his own right, but the operations side of things, and the person that got it from just a sample cream in a random tub to what we are nearly 2 years in, which is an amazing brand, if I say so
I
myself.
mean, your hair looks great, so
Thank you.
speaks
Thank
volumes.
you. I jumped out the shower
Literally.
and I was like, fuck, I can't wear a hat. I need to come with my hair out.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, we're cornering a niche in the men's hair care world, which is really exciting. And we had our first influencer community event yesterday, and we collaborated with Barry's just down the road actually, and we had 61 guys, all handsome, curly hair, just like getting sweaty in a workout. And it was the coolest thing to see that we're building a community of people that are embracing who they are. And that's our tagline is embrace your natural texture. And it goes further than just embracing your curly hair, but it's embrace your roots and you know what your parents gave you, what your DNA is, and be true to who you are. Because as soon as I started embracing my curls, I used to straighten my hair all my life, and I started modeling straightening my hair. And as soon as I embraced my curls, I booked my first big job, and I never looked back.
So what do you think that is? Do you think that's embracing just
I think
who
it's your
you are
authenticity.
and you're just being
Yeah.
accepting of
Accepting of
yourself?
yourself and being authentic to who you are, I think seeps into everything we do, right? And we can smell it a mile off when someone isn't genuine and they're not being authentic. That's all we have is our authentic selves. And I think when we embrace that, whether it's your hair or just generally who you are, then everything in life kind of flows a bit easier. But it's scary.
How do you protect yourself, like when you're that vulnerable, showing your true self?
You grow a thick skin.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
Yeah.
How do you protect yourself? You don't always. I think I was an incredibly sensitive kid, and I still am deep down a sensitive person. But I think as you get older, you develop a thick skin. You learn how to reassure yourself and trust yourself a little bit more. And I think making peace with the fact that not everyone's going to like you. For so long, I wanted every single person everywhere to like me. That was what I thought life was about, right? And as soon as I started to realize that no matter what, and no matter how good you could be as a person, there's going to be people out there that just fucking hate you. And I'm okay with that. I see it when I'm around people. I'm an empath, and I very much feel people's emotions, but I also know that I can be quite an intense person to be around, because I'm happy and I'm positive and I want to have a good time. And some people don't vibe with that. And I can see very quickly when somebody is like, oh, like this is a bit intense for me. And that's okay, because they're in their own world and I'm in mine. And I'm not necessarily gonna dull myself down or dim myself for somebody else.
Dim
But
your light.
I
Yeah.
will maybe redirect my energy and attention if it's not being received
That's
by
just
that
being
person.
aware as
Mhm.
well, aware, self-aware, aware of your surroundings, aware of other people's feelings. And, you know, a lot of people, I mean, we were greeted by 200, 300 people sometimes in a night. And the energy that you get off people sometimes can be so intense. And you go home and you don't realize why you're feeling a certain way. And actually, you know, we've greeted so many people and hugged so many people that we're taking on just so much energy.
For sure.
So I guess, like, in terms of energy, and, you know, you're surrounded by people all the time. It seems like it. Maybe you're not. You know, maybe from the outside, because it's on socials and you're in the entertainment industry, to us it seems like you're surrounded by a ton of people. How do you just make sure that everyone else's energy doesn't kind of penetrate your world, you know? That makes sense.
I think it makes complete sense. It's something I've learned more recently. And as I've got older, I've realized that I need my own time to recharge and like cleanse myself of everyone else's energy. But it's also becoming more intuitive and listening to myself. You know, I've read a few self-help books in my time.
Yeah.
There are
We
energy
all have, yeah.
vampires out there, right? There are people that fucking suck you dry of your
Yeah.
energy and give you nothing back. And I have been really intentional in recognizing those people and not removing them, but distancing myself from them, because it destroys me and I feel insecure, and my internal monologue is in that place of the saboteur, and it is just attacking me when I leave them, and I'm anxious and I'm uncomfortable, and all of these things that and they don't even realize they're doing it, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's just I can't even so I've learned to just recognize that. And also some places that I'm in that I used to think that I was the problem, and I would go to some places or environments or parties or events, and I would be like, oh, I feel like this energy isn't for me, but it must be me. So I'm going to drink and I'm going to get drunk so that I numb that, and then I can just float around and have fun and do what I do. And I've started to recognize that actually that isn't a me problem. I'm just, that environment isn't necessarily right for me, or the way that those people are vibrating or the energy that they give out isn't what I'm receptive to right now. And so I'll just leave. I'll say bye, or maybe I won't, but I'll just go, because ultimately our biggest responsibility is ourselves and how we feel. And I used to neglect that a lot to make sure that I could be everywhere, I'd do everything, I'll meet everyone. And now I'm like, I need to wake up tomorrow feeling good, because I've got a business to run, or, you know, a job that I'm hosting or whatever. And I can't have you drain me of my own energy that I work really hard to protect. And it takes, you know, It takes work.
Going back to your not drinking, you recently did the LA marathon.
Yes, I did.
And you
for the
said
second
to
time.
us earlier
wow.
that you gave up drinking for 100 days.
100 days.
How did you find social interactions with not drinking?
Fuck. It was hard. My reason for going sober for 100 days, I needed a circuit breaker. I needed to reframe my relationship with partying, interacting with people, dating, sex, the full works, everything that comes with going out and getting drunk, whether that's living in London or LA. And I've started to realize the world's actually a very small place, and like I can't run away from any of it.
No.
So like all of a sudden what I'm doing in London is now catching me.
And the same people are everywhere, by the way.
Exactly, everywhere.
Everywhere.
And my therapist and I, when I was seeing him, established that maybe I have addictive tendencies, which I think I probably do. Like addiction, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, right? It's within my family. So I'd be stupid and naive to believe that, I just, got off and it's never going to affect me. But I'm self-aware enough, I'd like to believe, to catch myself before, I fall down that very slippery slope. But it just wasn't really working for me. Going out the whole time, being hungover, I was then being flaky on my commitments to my friends and family and cancelling or like dating. It just wasn't really full of depth, and it was just superficial and drunken, and sex was casual, and it was like, I don't really like the person that I've become. And so I just need to take a step back for a second and see if I can actually commit to a prolonged period of time of abstaining from all of it. Because if I can't, then I've probably got an issue that I need more help with. And if I can, then maybe it is just a reframing of the whole environment and something that's become very just second nature to me and habitual, in the sense of, it's Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, let's go out, we get drunk, whatever. And that was really my reasoning for doing it. And I ran the LA Marathon 2 years prior, and I wasn't sober throughout it. And I had a good race, but it wasn't great. I was going out and living my normal life, and then I was waking up at 5 a.m. and running half marathons and 24-mile runs. And I was training with two guys that were really in the thick of it. And I was a couple of years younger, so it was easier to wake up hungover and just get it done. And fitness has been the most consistent thing in my life since the beginning of time. And I have my dad to thank for that, because he's always been incredibly fit and healthy. So I wanted to prove to myself that if I can commit, then who knows what can happen. And it was a really beautiful moment, because I cramped in the first marathon, like full body cramps at 22 miles, fell to the floor, like my fucking biceps and triceps and legs and everything. And this guy from a coffee shop ran over and started stretching me out on the grass. And the final 4 miles were just excruciating. Every half mile I would cramp and I would seize up. And I still got a decent time, but I knew that it was because I didn't respect my body and the process. And so this time it was like, let me see what can happen if I actually respect the process and I understand the nutrition and the fueling and the training and all of those things. And I had the most unbelievable race.
Because there's way more that goes into it
than just running.
Yeah, way more.
Sure.
And it's more of a mind game than it is a physical game.
For sure, but the fueling and the nutrition, and I disregarded all of that. I was like, I'll be fine. I don't need gels or whatever. Like, and life and my body was like, no, you're a fucking idiot. Like, what? All of this science, all of this data, all of these millions of people that have been running for however long, and you think that you can just body it. Like, it's not going to happen. And so I recognized that. I allowed people to guide me for the second marathon and just learnt from those around me. And I wasn't drinking, and my body and my mind rewarded me. And it got to mile 22 and my body was trying to cramp, and it was like, and it didn't let itself cramp. And I just had the most amazing race.
Do you think that's because your mind was in a better place because you were more prepared?
I think it was my mind felt strong throughout the whole thing, besides the last mile, which is like the fucking worst thing in the world. And I say I never want to run a marathon again within that mile. I just want it to be over. But I think it's because my body was healthy and it rewarded me for my intentional hard work, and the fact that I didn't break and I didn't succumb to, the things that were enticing all throughout the 100 days. It was like, oh, there's this event, there's this thing, this girl wants to go on a date, that, and I'm like, oh fuck, if only I just had one glass of wine. What? And
priorities,
exactly,
priorities.
yeah. Intention.
Yeah.
And
Challenge.
so, yeah,
Challenge
and
as well.
going back to fitness and that mental resilience, fitness for me is more mental than it is physical. I'm grateful and I love the physical results that I have as a byproduct, but it is the one thing that has kept my mind healthy and just resilient. And it builds such strong mental resilience that if I can get through that marathon or this workout or this challenge, then life can throw anything at me, because if I didn't die from that, then I'm all right,
Yeah.
I was just going to say, what do you listen to when you're training? I know nothing about your musical taste. I know that you were a musician.
God. I don't know if I'm
Or do you raw dog
call
it?
myself as a musician. Let's not go there.
Do you run with nothing?
No, people,
because that's like
they're sick fucks.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
They need to go get help or see someone.
People that go to the gym with nothing.
I'm a podcast girl.
See, I think that's crazy.
No. So I did 10K this morning with the podcast.
Nice.
And I was, because you're learning. It's like you're
but I'm not focused on what they're saying.
So what do you focus on when you're running?
The
Just
marathon,
getting to the end.
So it's funny. The first marathon, I just shuffled my whole liked songs on Spotify. The worst idea of my entire life, because it was like
that's
every single
BPMs,
genre,
though.
different
Does that not
BPMs.
throw you off?
Have
this
a musical
time,
strategy if you're
no,
gonna,
this
do a
time,
marathon.
Chat GPT and my
Our best
musical
friend.
taste,
Our
our
best
best friend, right? And the BPM and the pace that I wanted to run at curated me a playlist with some of my favorite, housey, high energy artists. I had Chase and Status in there. I had Marabou Stay. I had Mal P. I had all these people that just that I love and just paced me to the finish line. And it was perfect. So I need music. And when I'm training, I love sad music.
Really?
When you're training?
Yeah.
When you're lifting
if I'm in the
weights and
gym,
stuff?
lifting weights, music for me is about feeling an emotion. And it's not always going to be like a good emotion. I need it to just evoke something. And sometimes sad music actually makes me feel incredibly grateful. And it's this weird thing. And it's pretty acoustic. It varies. Sometimes I need music to get me going, but other times it's like, I'm cool. I'm in a good place. I just need a reason to train. And that reason can be more emotive and slightly deeper, and whether it makes me feel a sense of gratitude or just think about things in the past that are going to encourage me to move forward. And it's weird because I tell it to some people and they're like, what, you're listening to Ben Howard and you're trying to do, your 1 rep max. I was like, hey.
That's quite psychotic, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I respect it.
Thank you.
But Anna thinks it's mad that I listen to podcasts. So you're like heavy metal.
No, I'm like gangster rap when I lift, or heavy metal.
She's like intense.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. But sometimes it's just pushing me in a different way.
Yeah.
And sometimes I need it to just get me to. I don't need the happy emotion. I need a reason for why I'm here doing this.
What inspires you more, heartbreak or love?
That's a good question.
Wow.
Because if you're lifting to Ben Howard, then it's feeling heartbreak to me, but I don't know.
Or pain.
Ben Howard. I love Ben Howard. I love how we're just talking about him now. What inspires me more, heartbreak or love? Equally indifferent. I think heartbreak and just the outcomes that you didn't necessarily want are a huge inspiration and source to keep on going and knowing that something better is going to come. But the idea of love and being better than I could ever be for myself, but also for somebody else is inspiring as well. And so they I think they come at different times, but heartbreak in a sense of, yes, love and like relationships, but just like heartbreak in terms of things that didn't necessarily happen, or things that I worked really hard on, but it didn't go the way that I wanted. I think I use as motivation to, I guess in a weird way, I have something to prove to myself, as well as the people that have always championed and believed in me. But I have no reason to do what I did. I was a stuttering, dyslexic kid growing up that in an academic setting was never going to amount to anything. And so with that came this determination to prove to myself that actually that is one side of a coin. And yes, it might help. It's not the be all and end all. And there's ways around it, and there's things that you can do that allow you to still do all the things that you want to do.
So what is your North Star? The thing that you are, what are you working towards? What is all of this, that everything has kind of, made you who you are today? What are you building towards? The thing that you see?
I think I'm still figuring that out,
Yeah.
if I'm honest. I think it's to... The goal has always been to encourage and inspire, I think more than anything, young men to feel more confident in themselves and their differences, and not that the idea of this stereotypical man that we were conditioned to believe is necessary in order to navigate and be in this world isn't the case, and that you can be in touch with your emotions, and you can embrace your femininity whilst also being masculine, and you can wear your heart on your sleeve, and you can also be sure in the things that you want. And I think to be able to build a business that impacts people in a positive way is important to me. To create something that isn't just for me, but is for my family, and to secure everyone in this world and all the people around me, and to, I don't know, to do good and just spread love and positive. Truly,
Cool.
I love the entertainment world. I love the fact that I started in a pop band, as you guys kindly mentioned, but I started there, and then in reality TV, and there's no reason for me to be in any of these places or do any of these things, but it was just, yes, man. I got a message on Facebook when I was 16 being like, would you like to audition to be in this pop group? I had never really sung in my life.
Yes,
and I was like,
will.
I turned to my mum and I was like, wait, what's this? And she was like, well, do you want to do it? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. Why not? And I remember she took me into this audition, and they stood me next to a piano, and we went up and down the scale. And I'm really no singer. Like, I can hold a tune.
How did you pull it
Nice
off?
tone to your voice, though.
Thank
you.
you. I can hold a tune, and my role wasn't to be, the Sam Smith of the band.
Yeah.
It was to stand there, look good, smile and wave, hold a tune, sing in the background, dance around. But it was just that, like, it was what was on the other side of the fear. And I think that was the catalyst in what then started this idea that if something scares me, I'm saying yes. And that's how I've been ever since.
If it aligns, though, with you and you as a person and your values and that kind of thing, right? Or if something out of left field came into your life, but it was a challenge and it was scary and it would send you in a completely different direction, is that something that you would, I mean, I don't even know, what that would be.
I think the universe has a really funny way of, I feel incredibly connected, and it has a funny way I say yes to most things, and they either become something, can present themselves, or they just end up fizzling out and falling to the wayside. And so I will always explore an opportunity or something that's come to me, but not everything then happens. And I have to trust that it's because actually that wasn't a direction or that was meant for me. Yeah. And the things that are because I was fearless enough to say yes, and then everything else aligned And so it happened, because there's a million things that I've said yes to that don't happen.
Yeah. I think that's probably what most impressed us most about you is, well, the thing that stood out the most was that you will say yes to something and figure it out later, you know, because
sure.
I think it's Richard Branson who was like, say yes, always say yes, and then figure it out, even if you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
You have no, I mean,
You
most
can
people don't
always
know what
say
they're
no,
doing.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had this, there was this, I don't want to call them out, but there was a business that approached me recently about a really cool idea. And I said, yes, I wanted to hear it out, suss it out, figure it out. And it's a cool idea, but it actually just doesn't align with me. And so I said yes to the initial meeting. I said yes to send me the treatment and the document about it and all of that stuff. And then I really sat with it, and I knew that it just like, I can't focus on Wavy and try and build my own brand and do stuff in the entertainment world and take on the expectation to be a part of somebody else's business. And I messaged the guy and I was like, great, and like, I think it's really cool and I wish you all the best, but it would be wrong of me to try and so it's like, say yes initially, but then say no if it doesn't work. I remember one of my first modeling jobs, I said yes that I could be a stuntman and fall backwards off of like a 25-foot ledge onto like a soft pad. I booked the job. And then I completely fucked up. I called my agency. I was like, I didn't realize how big 25 feet is. I can't do that. And I had to turn down the job. They never worked with me again from that specific brand. But it was like, I'm not going to say no in that moment.
Yeah.
I want to say yes and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's what we say. Like, always say yes to a meeting. Always say
You're always
yes.
going to learn something. You know, there's always going to be a lesson. So,
Or you're always going to meet someone new. Or there's going to be an opportunity somewhere, whether it's not the end goal, but it's, you know, you meet someone new and you build a relationship
For
or
sure.
a friendship or a work contact. Or
I think that's what I've learned about living in America. They say yes to everything.
Yes, Americans are opportunists. They're
delusional
dream
optimists.
Yes, completely.
And I'm delusional.
But which is a fucking great place to be,
Yeah.
I think.
Delusional in a
In a smart way.
Yes, in the idea that you can do it if you want.
Who wants to be realistic all the time? Like, you want to dream so
I have
big.
my parents for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And other people,
and exactly,
your team,
people around you.
You
to
can't
say,
do
be
it.
realistic,
But, you know,
think about those things. But
yeah.
you know, I live in my delusion, and so far it's worked
got
to an
you
extent.
somewhere.
Exactly.
You know, you're on the Yes No Maybe podcast.
There we go.
You would not be here otherwise.
I wouldn't.
You know?
Facts, though. Facts. In this beautiful room, in a great podcast setting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfect.
we have a couple of quick fire questions
Yeah.
for you. I'm going to let Kendall kick it off.
Oh, okay.
Nice and warm.
Nice and warm. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, let's do this.
All
These are
right.
the yes, no, maybe questions.
Do you believe love is something you find or is created?
I think it's both. I think you can find it, but I think it's not easy, and it needs to continuously be recreated and reinvented, and it's a two-way street from my understanding of it. But I like to think it's something that starts off just effortless, but then it takes work in order to continue. And love is so multifaceted. Don't get me into love, because we believe it's this like one-dimensional, just romantic love, and there's so many more layers to love.
Oh, okay, this is a good one. Do you trust your gut more than your plan?
Yeah, because I don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So I trust my gut. I don't have a 5-year plan.
That's interesting.
No. I think with Wavy now, I have more of a plan about growth and where I want to get to. But my personal plan, and with the entertainment world, there has been no plan, because there's been nobody to guide me or tell me what's right or wrong. I've had to just trust and believe that I have an idea of what I believe. If I do this, I'll get to here, and if I do this, I'll get to here. But who the fuck knew whether that was going to be
But
the
how
case?
do you deal with the highs and lows of that? Because you've came off a show like Love Island, one of the most watched shows in the UK. and you must have been so high, and then you're waiting for the next job. How
Yeah.
do you navigate the lows?
And those in between moments where maybe you don't have a job,
for sure, which I
'Cause,
haven't
I mean,
for
that's
many times.
can be very stressful.
I think not getting your validation from external sources is for one, which isn't easy. And I'm on social media. Like, obviously external validation makes me feel good. It makes us all feel good. The number of likes I get on Instagram or this or that, but it's learning to not define my worth by the jobs or the things that I book. And I learned that very early on when I first started out as a model, because I would sit in a room full of 20 guys going in for a casting, and I would look at them all and I would be like, and I would compare myself to all of them. They were taller than me, they were more ripped than me, this one subjectively more handsome, whatever. And it was like, but if that person's going to get it, they're going to get it because that's who they are. And I am who I am, and no two people are the same. And it's just stupid to compare myself, because I can't be him and he can't be me. So I've either just got to trust in what I'm trying to do and let other people, and what's meant for us won't pass us. And that's really, and a little bit of strategy. All right, if I do this, hopefully I'll get there. And somehow it's worked out. I did a US TV show and I wanted to pivot into hosting, and that was my big reason for doing that. And a month later, I got a call from a producer that I had worked with 4 years prior on an Instagram live when I had just come off of Love Island the first time in 2018. And I did an Instagram live for mental health, and she called me and she was like, I've been waiting for you to raise your profile in the US, and I've just got this hosting opportunity for you to host an Amazon TV show. Would you be interested? And it was like, honestly, I couldn't fucking believe it. I was like, I felt like I needed to do a reality show in order for me to then be able to pivot. But who was to say? And then she called me and she was like, do you remember me? And I was like, of course I fucking remember you. It was crazy.
So do you think it's because you set the intention and you were sort of manifesting it in a way?
To an extent, and trusting my gut that if it wasn't that, something else was going to come. And I wanted, and it was an opportunity that I did Love Island Games in the US 2.5 years ago. And for me, that was really just a way to put Love Island to bed as a whole. I was older, I was wiser, I was more reassured in who I was. And so I was confident to bring that on screen. Whereas in 2018, I was 22. I was a fucking deer in headlights.
so
and didn't know
young.
who I was. And that was just an opportunity for me to put the whole dating on TV chapter to bed, but also potentially raise my profile in the US and then pivot into whatever I wanted to do next. It could have gone terribly or it could have gone well. That's just the risk that you take.
Yeah.
And luckily it did all right for me.
It's paying off. Yeah.
Right. Let's go. Is there a version of you that exists in your head that feels more real than the one you show the world?
Is there a version of me that exists in my head that feels more real than the one that I show the world? That's a crazy question. I think we all have an idea and a version of ourselves that lives in our head. I don't think that it's different to the one that I show the world. I just sometimes wonder if the world sees it the way that I see it. Does that make sense?
Perception is everything.
Everything. It really is. And that's what I wonder sometimes. Is it perceived the way that I intend it to? And the way that I think it's being perceived, is that how I'm being perceived?
Which I think you'll never know, because
Exactly.
you won't know, because we all live in our own heads and we all have
For
our own
sure.
ideas and our own values and experience. And, you know, we meet someone for 15 seconds and we already have
A preconceived perception of who they are.
or we've already judged that person and decided who they are.
It's like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, is that what the world sees? Or, like what? Like you know, like hey, or oh fucking
like,
hell,
shit.
God, I'm
This
getting
is what I'm
older
putting
here.
out to the world,
exactly.
yeah.
And so that, to answer your question, that's what I feel like I am, who I am in my head, and externally, but I wonder if what people see is who I know it to be in my head, or that's just someone different entirely. I sometimes think that if I'm walking in somewhere, or it's like, what do they perceive I am?
It would be
How are
cool
they
if we
looking at
could.
me? I don't know.
We
I
could
don't think I'd
tell.
want to know.
You wouldn't want to
No.
know.
No.
No.
The first thought that people think when
No.
you wouldn't.
No.
I'd be intrigued.
I'm intrigued, but I think I have an idea that there's sometimes a perception that people have of me that isn't necessarily the best until we get a bit of FaceTime, or they get to, you know, I wear flare jeans and a crop t-shirt sometimes and wear jewelry, and that kind of just, you know.
Oh, I have a resting bitch face, so you know, like I
disagree.
Oh, I've been told that my whole life. So people think I'm one way, and then they meet me, and they're like, "Okay, she's not, you know, she's not what I thought." I'm like, yeah, don't judge. Okay, we won't do all of these because we have a lot. Is there a price to pay for fame?
Yes and no. I think I'm not going to win. We can't sit here and pretend I'm the most famous person in the world, right? I've had small time fame and success. When it was at the height, there was definitely a price to pay, because I got to spend no time with the people that I loved and cared about when I was out with them, because people would just come and bombard you and interrupt you, and then the people that I love and care about didn't want to be out with me because it wasn't enjoyable for them. Now I think I have found a really comfortable place where people respect me and what I'm doing, and so aren't so intense, and I don't get stopped every which way that I turn, and it's a lot more chilled, so I can enjoy it for the benefits and also not be overwhelmed by it.
But do you miss that, being bombarded?
It's so funny. I was out with a friend
question.
of mine last night, and he said, do you, and I say this with the least amount of ego, but it's just, you said it, so he said, do you see people looking at you? Because as the person with you, I see it the whole time, like wherever we go, and I said yes and no. I also said, I don't know, it's something that I've now become so comfortable with. I don't know how I would feel if they didn't, because then it's like, you know, either I've fallen off, or I'm not relevant anymore, or I'm doing something wrong. So I think there's a price to pay, because you get used to a certain type of behavior from people. But again, I think that you can get that in other ways, in the way that you treat people and make people feel. I've had people who I've got no idea who they are. They've got no kind of attention or public persona that makes you feel like the most important and special person in the world when they talk to you, because they're just locked in and they make you feel special and they have a gift. And so it varies, and I think there is a price to pay with fame, but there's levels to it, and I'm at a very nice level, and I don't know if I'd want to go all the way.
Do you ever Google yourself?
Do I ever Google myself? Very rarely. But if I know that I've like been papped or something,
Yeah, there's a story.
yeah. But I don't read any of it. I never have. I will very, very, very rarely read comments, read an article, a Daily Mail, nothing, because it's not going to be very nice, really, is it? People aren't nice. And again, the people around me will always tell me if there's something I need to see or read, and the rest is just, it's kind of bullshit.
Let's do one last one. We'll go. Okay. Make it a good one.
Do you feel like you've created your identity rather than had it shaped for you?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it was shaped in some senses growing up. I feel as though people put an idea of me, an idea onto me, that I had to do things within the, you know, when I was a kid and I was being pushed towards modeling and stuff like that. But then I believe that I have shaped the identity of myself just by less about superficial and surface level what you look like, and more about, I guess, the depth that I try and show people. And I guess that comes as a way to say, hey, I'm more than just what I look like, because for so long it was just modeling and it was like, oh, it's all about what you look like and who cares whether you've got anything to say or not. And I think that was the main reason of why I pivoted and did TV, was because it was like, wait, there's a person in here that I would like want to show people and maybe people can relate to. Yes.
So chase your fear, be authentic,
Yeah. Say yes.
say yes.
Say yes.
Say yes. No, maybe. But say yes.
Say yes. No. Say yes first
Yeah.
and then no or maybe.
Yeah, exactly. See what happens. Put yourself out there and
Yeah.
just go for it.
I mean, we're all going to die and none of it's
Yeah.
going to matter.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to remember us.
Yeah, it is not a dress rehearsal.
No, and it's the most scary and comforting thing. But I think the scariest thing for me is getting to the end of my life with a bunch of, I wish I did that, or I wish I said yes to that.
Yeah.
And that is not a life I want to live,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Not having those regrets. Let's
Sure.
not regret things, you know?
Exactly.
Let's go
Just
for it. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
Have amazing hair in the process.
Yeah.
Can you
Exactly.
please
And
do a line for women?
And use the Wavy everyday color.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, can you? Because, you know,
Yeah.
I
It works
need
for
help.
men. It works
I
for
curl
women,
my hair
sorry.
every day. My hair is dead
Yes,
straight. So I
but-
want curly hair.
Yeah, but we can't. We don't give straight hair curls.
No.
We just enhance
But
the
what if
natural
we
texture.
do the curls?
Absolutely.
And then
Yeah.
it'd be
I'm going to
nice to
send you both the
enhance
care
them.
package.
Okay.
It's
We can try it.
yeah, exactly. Try
and
it.
see where it goes.
Yes, it will
from
go
there.
great.